Winter's coming. The best deals are coming.
I would say you're leaving money on the table. You're wasting money.
The banks are going to fight against each other soon.
So do you think right now is the time to buy?
We're going to see rates come down big time.
Borrowing capacity blockers that people need to avoid.
Right? How to pay off your home in 7 years. It's not as complicated as everyone was saying.
Faded leases are poison. This deal we have is the best deal easily we've ever seen.
How much cashback?
They're doing a $2,800 cashback.
I'm not sure if you've heard the story that happened recently with Logan Paul.
Do you think there's an avenue for investing in Pokémon cards?
Now, if you thought going to the World Cup was expensive, here's some of these numbers. Yeah, definitely one of the biggest scams of the year. Hi guys, and welcome to the Rate Drop. I'm Dom Trimboli, and today I'm joined with the Residential Mortgage Broker of the Year, Rob D'Agostino.
Cheers, Dom. Good to be here.
Now today, we're going to start this podcast off with a bit of fire in our belly because we're seeing a lot of things on the news, a lot of articles about, it's a bit like winter's coming. The best deals are coming. The best deals, the banks are going to fight against each other soon. But Rob, I think, might have a bit of a different opinion on this.
The best deal is always in the present. It's as simple as that.
Yeah, but is it actually though? Because typical mortgage broker, the best deal is now. Is that actually a good deal right now?
I would honestly say this deal we have with Bank of China at the moment is the best deal easily we've ever seen. Yeah. Easily.
I've seen this deal for a while now, and I can't believe how good it is, yet people still think there's nothing out there, right?
It's crazy.
Why is this deal so good?
So you're getting 5.88% on a variable. It comes with an offset account. It comes with a cashback. It comes with a redraw.
Sure. Not bad. And now this 5.88%, is this going to go up with any rate increases, or is this like a honeymoon rate or anything like this?
No. So we've been using Bank of China for about 3 or 4 years. Even the clients we put on low rates 3 or 4 years, they've just moved up in line with the RBA and down in line with the RBA.
So 5.88% with how much cashback?
They're doing a $2,800 cashback on that one.
2,800. What's with the eights with Bank of China? There's always some eights involved.
I think maybe it's some form of lucky number.
Yeah.
So it's $2,888 to be
You can't
specific.
miss out that extra $88.
Yeah.
You know, cost of living stuff at the moment, man.
So I think maybe the 888 could be a lucky number. Chinese people, feel free to correct me if I'm wrong there, but no, it's a crazy deal. It ticks a lot of boxes. You're getting a good rate, you're getting your offset facilities, you're getting the cash back. So it covers your cost of moving and you make a bit of money.
Yeah. But we get pushback, don't we, from this deal?
Yeah. So
why do we get pushback?
Because the bank is Chinese, which to me baffles me because everything's made in China.
Everything's made in China. Like I get people... Isn't a bit of a contradiction? I get clients that are driving like a BYD car who don't want to go with the Bank of China, but they're driving a Chinese car.
Well, I'll tell you, I had this client about a week ago and he was with HSBC.
HSBC. Now, where isn't that an English bank, Rob, or where's that bank from?
So HSBC stands for Hong Kong Shanghai Bank.
Now,
so they are a Chinese lender. I think it's just the way they market HSBC, and because they're quite global, people don't even know that they're actually a Chinese bank.
Yeah, it feels like HSBC is English, but it feels like BOC is Chinese. But the reality is...
They're the same. They're the same. And it was a funny conversation with that client because I pretty much had to say, you're literally with a Chinese bank, global bank that's set up all over the world. That's the exact same setup as BOC.
Yeah, it's... I don't know. To me, it makes no sense too. But in all seriousness though, BOC, there are some limitations, right?
Look, there's a trade-off. The trade-off is maybe your internet banking app is going to be a little bit average compared to your bigger bank. Maybe that customer service could be lacking slightly. But honestly, with the current climate, high cost of living, high interest rates, who cares?
But Rob, what if I prefer to lose $3,000 a year to have a shiny NetBank type app? What would you say to me then?
I would say you're leaving money on the table. You're wasting money. And clients there's a bit of pushback, but clients are starting to claw onto this now. Yeah. We're starting to get a bit of traction on this Bank of China deal because the thing is, if you set up your direct debit and your offset, you don't even need to deal with them. It doesn't even matter if the app's crap. What we're telling our clients is, hey, keep your everyday account with Combank or whatever bank you're with. Do your everyday banking there with your nice fancy app. But put your mortgage with Bank of China at 588 with your offset and your direct debits. You don't need to deal with them and you've got the best deal in the market.
With the cost of living pressures, are you finding maybe people are looking behind that door when previously they've written off the door as, oh, this is too foreign for me?
Correct. 6 to 12 months ago, a lot of people would say no. I just don't want to go with that bank. Right now, a lot of people are saying yes.
I have had a few clients mention that if they wanted a cash out on top, it's a little bit difficult. Maybe if you had a big portfolio and you want to reshuffle and things like that. Would you say that's a fair comment?
Look, yes and no. I've seen them loosen up a little bit in the past few months. So when I say loosen up, they're now lending to more postcodes across Australia.
Yeah.
I actually emailed them about a cash out deal yesterday.
Yeah.
So they'll go up to $500,000 with a stat deck, whereas previously they're a little bit more stringent or wanted proof of what the cash out was for.
So they're opening up to just the same kind of stuff the Big Four can do.
Yeah.
And they're nearly there.
Yeah, correct. And look, for full transparency for people, 2-3 years ago, because they had a good deal, their process was a bit slow.
Yeah.
You would see those refinances maybe take 2 to 3 months. We have seen them speed things up in the past 6 months. We're seeing refinances in 4 to 6 weeks, which is pretty good for a very good deal.
Yeah. Does any deal really get close to BOC? Let's be honest.
Not really. Most other banks you're going to see at 599 upwards on the owner-occupied. And actually worth noting, their investment rate is pretty crazy too.
What's that at the moment?
So they're doing 6.13% on their investment principal interest, but interest only is also 613.
I don't think you ever see that. Do you ever see an investment share the same rate for both P&I and interest only? I can't recall, especially when it's still at the top of the pack. So 6.13 interest only on investment. Is there really a better deal out there than?
Not really. You see most other banks coming in maybe 6.3 interest only.
So if you're someone who's got an owner-occupied property and an investment and you want to go interest only, is there anything that gets close here? No, there really is nothing. And something too, I like to go to China, right? And last year when I was in China in a place called Shenzhen, I think I'm not pronouncing that right for anyone that's Chinese, but I don't care. And while I was there, I couldn't take money out. And I went down the road and luckily enough, Bank of China. Yeah. Went into a Bank of China and I've got to say, it's a real good operation they got going on there. The one place in Shenzhen which they were able to help me as an Australian to kind of get money out easily. Yeah. And even Bank of China, Nico, how big are they? Are they?
Actually, they are ranking number 4.
Fourth biggest bank in the world.
Fourth biggest bank.
Oh, whoa! In the world.
In the world, right? And
wow.
And people think CBA are so massive. What would CBA be compared to Bank of China in terms of assets?
In terms of assets, they have 5.25 trillions, while them have 820 billion.
So that's BOC with 5 trillion and CBA with, what was that, 800 billion?
20 billion.
So that's 6 times bigger.
Yeah.
Wow.
So it's 6 times bigger than CBA.
Yeah.
Yeah. And and the funny thing too that we're talking about China, there's a street in Shenzhen. I forget it's like a tech street. It's the number 1 tech street in the world, Nico, in Shenzhen. Do you know the name?
That one would be, I don't know if it's the correct pronunciation, but Wanqian Bay.
Wanqian Bay.
Haiquan Bay or
Haiquan Bay.
It's okay. If anyone's Chinese, they're going to be so insulted watching this. But the thing about that street is something like 50% of the world's tech goes through this street, whether it's your phone or anything like that.
Wow.
So everything you're using is Chinese.
Yeah, 100%. That's why when people push back on the deal, it just doesn't make sense.
It doesn't. You cannot not be a hypocrite with this stuff. But you can't live in the Western world and not use anything that's Chinese.
Yeah. Well, this is probably from China. This mic. Yep. This is probably from China.
It is.
This Apple Watch is probably from China.
So the bottom line is, why are you leaving money on the table?
Yeah, correct. But the good news is people have clued onto that because things are so tough at the moment. People are saying yes, and they're giving them a shot. So,
and how long have we been using BOC for now?
We've been using them for a good four and a bit years.
Yeah. And how many issues have we really had? you know?
Look, the only issues a few years ago was just the processing time was slow. Whereas now they've tightened up on that.
Yeah.
So one of the things I keep getting asked questions about from clients is about the market, the property market. Where do you think it's heading on?
It's a pretty unique situation, right? Because there's been a few things that really have happened for the first time since COVID, right? Property has stopped, right?
Yeah.
You're seeing that on your end as well?
Yeah, it's been stagnating. We're seeing some valuations come in lower.
Yeah, lower. And I think most of the eastern suburbs property's actually gone down. I think like in Adelaide and maybe in like Queensland, it might be holding a bit better. But auction clearance rates are like the worst they've been for a long time.
Wow.
Yeah, inflation, I think they released the data recently. It's still steady. So it kind of... We're in this position where property prices are stagnating, auction clearance rates are not what they were, but inflation's the same. So that means rates have to stay the same.
Yeah.
So you got to think about the next couple of years. And whenever I like to look at the market, I like to look at it from a 2-year point of view. And I think rates can't really move for the next couple of months.
Yeah.
But I think there's a good chance, whether it be 6 months, 12 months, even 15 months, we're going to see rates come down big time, because I think we're getting to the point where something's got to give.
So do you think right now is the time to buy, or do you reckon someone should wait 3 more months to see if it drops down further? Property.
It's a good question, to be honest. You know, they always say right now is the best time to buy. And look, the reality of it is it always is, but there's a but this time.
Yeah.
There will be a moment when rates are about to drop. That moment is going to be the absolute ideal time to buy.
The best time to buy.
You're not going to get property any cheaper at that moment, but the risk will be less in terms of what's going to happen. The other big thing to factor in is like who's in Parliament at the moment. And obviously, Albo, you can have your opinions about him, as we all do.
Yeah.
But there are, I guess, there's a lot of heat. Well, there's not a lot of heat. There's a lot of push behind Pauline Hanson and One Nation.
Yep.
You know? And even Liberal, I think, aren't the party they used to be.
There's talks that the Liberals and One Nation could join to go against Labor. And
like if they did that, I think it's going to be a landslide victory to whoever wears that.
And what's the reason we're talking about politics? That can have a big effect on property, can't it?
Well, think about it like this, right? Everything that happened with the budget, everything that's going on now in the country, there's like a bit of uncertainty.
Yeah.
Let's say Pauline Hanson, One Nation gets back into power.
Yeah.
What do you think they're going to do at that point?
Yeah.
There's gonna be a resurgence with property interest rates. I feel will have to get lower somehow.
Yeah.
There's going to be red tape is going to be gone. There's going to be more, like there's just going to be more opportunity, more houses being built. I just feel like there's only one way for property if that happens.
Yeah.
Now, alternatively, if Labor stay in power, who knows? Yeah. It could just be stagnation city for a little while.
Yeah, because they're more first home buyer focused.
I think so, and yes. I'd imagine. One Nation would try and reverse some of the stuff that happened in the budget, because even the big thing since the budget's happened, what are you really seeing from clients?
A lot of complaining, especially from investors. So a lot of investors that might have previously voted Labor would be getting around Liberal or One Nation at the moment.
Yeah. What is consumer investor confidence like at the moment?
Terrible.
Terrible, right? And if that confidence goes up, the market is going to shoot up. So I guess in a long way of answering, I don't think now or in 6 to 9 months will be a better or worse time. It's probably a good time to buy now, because property certainly isn't really going to go down anymore because it's already kind of happened. But in 6 to 9 months, when we kind of have a clearer landing, then it's like you almost enter the property market risk-free for upcoming short to medium term games, I feel.
Yeah, because rates can't stay this high forever. The economy will slow down too much.
No, we're just paying for COVID. This is all this is. Rates should have never been 1.89%. They should have never been that low. Yeah. This is just it's the yin and the yang. They were 1.89% for too long. Yeah. Now they're 6% for too long. But we're getting to the end of that point.
Yeah, because the market got supercharged. 1.8%. They brought in the builder grants, all these first home buyer products. Yeah. That's always going to pump up the market.
Yeah. And I think what really happened to the market is there was 30-40% of gains in 3 or 4 years. But the reality of those gains, that should have been 7 to 8 years. And this certainly the last year we've had, there might be another year or two just to catch up from that point. But I certainly don't think property's gone down, but there's going to be some opportunity within that 12 to 24 month period, and it could be as big of an opportunity as COVID was for property investors.
The days of 15 to 20% annual growth are done though now. Hey?
I think so, yeah. I think so. But 5%, 6%, 7% maybe in a couple of years, they could be coming back.
Be a good space to watch for sure.
And probably from a lending point of view, the biggest change from the budget would have been the self-managed super fund lending, Robin. Like, can you explain what was self-managed super fund lending like before the budget?
Yeah, look, it became a very, very popular avenue for people to buy property. And this does link to what you were saying earlier about the property market going for a bit of a dip at the moment.
How were they buying property though in their super?
So basically you would roll your personal super balance into a self-managed super fund, which is set up by an accountant. So let's say you've got 200,000 between you and your wife. You roll that into the funds. You use that as your 20% deposit and your stamp duty to actually buy a property and take out a loan.
How much could you really, like, let's say you had 200,000 in your super, how much would you generally buy?
Look, we're seeing clients buy properties around 800,000 is kind of where we're seeing most clients buy.
In self-managed super fund at that point?
Yeah, correct.
Wow.
Residential property. But basically it's set up quite differently to personal lending because they factor in your super contributions, the rent from the property that you're going to be buying, and that services the loan and the property holding costs.
Both of those things service the loan?
Yeah, correct.
Yeah, so how much you're putting into your super plus how much the rent.
Yep.
And what happens if you're tapped out in your like personal name? That's irrelevant, right?
Yeah, it's irrelevant. So it gets treated completely differently to lending in your personal name.
Yeah.
But the big thing that's happened is the government recently announced that after the 10th of August, you can't borrow money to buy residential property in your super.
But you can still buy a property in your super though, but you can't get a loan to assist you to do that, right?
Correct. So if you have a massive super balance, you could buy a residential property. The only thing you can still borrow is for commercial property.
Commercial property. So residential, like 95% of people don't have that option because let's be real, 95% of people don't have 800K in their super.
Correct.
So you're saying commercial, I could, if I had 400K in my super, maybe 250K, I can go out and buy a commercial property and get the assistance of a loan.
Yeah, correct. It's clear to say that residential in self-managed super fund is now dead, but commercial is the opportunity.
Seems like a pretty big opportunity, right? And like I think you were telling me about a client that you assisted up in like Kadena?
Yeah, correct. So I helped a client that rolled his super into a self-managed super fund, bought a property in Kadena in the York Peninsula, South Australia.
Yep.
Bought a bakery and it already had a tenant.
How much was the property?
Must have been about 600,000 off the top of my head.
600,000. That's not too bad. Do you remember his super balance to purchase that property?
Yeah, he had about 250K. So he did put a fair bit in towards it.
And then you were telling me it was getting like a 6 or 7% return. It was a bit better because it was out in Kadena, which is further away from like a metro area.
Yeah, look, that's the opportunity in commercial. If you buy the right asset, you can sometimes get a 6 to 7% rental yield.
Yeah, that seems So really, that as an example is probably the move now in super, right?
Yeah, well, look, you can buy warehouses, office space. You can buy hospitality or bakeries.
Yeah,
but there is another pretty popular avenue that we're seeing.
What's that?
We're seeing self-employed people who are buying property to occupy it with their business.
Right, so instead of paying like rent to someone else, they're just buying their own premise.
Correct. And the other reason this is so good is if you haven't got the savings to just buy a commercial property to rent out to yourself, but you've got a big super balance, you can access those super funds now to buy the property and get your business in that place.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense. And there's so many tax advantages from having a property in super and stuff. It's a damn shame you can't buy residential property in your super. I guess it's debatable whether it's a shame because some people would argue that it was kind of stopping opportunities for young people getting into homes. And there might be some validity in that argument. But, it seems like commercial is unaffected after the budget.
If anything, commercial, you'd imagine, would go up. Because now there's going to be more people going after commercial in self-managed super funds.
Yeah. And historically, investors will look at commercial property as like better yields and everything like that.
Yeah.
So could this potentially be a moment where the focus gets shifted to something that's just as good or if not better?
Yeah, look, 100%. You got to be very strategic with the type of commercial property you buy.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to buy something where your rent and your super pay isn't covering the loan.
Yeah, I'd be thinking of like the future in like 2 to 5, 10 years, because it's a rapidly changing marketplace. Like what types of properties are still going to be, effective in the future? Whereas like, something like a bakery, like that's probably always going to be a thing, right?
Yeah.
I think like storage, like you mentioned, warehouses.
Yep.
You're always going to need to store things. I've got a bit of a theory about the future too. Like, how we have Uber Eats?
Yeah.
In my future world, right, there's going to be little warehouses, little kitchens all over a CBD. And there's going to be little drones flying out of those kitchens, delivering it to your home. And this is how people are going to eat in the future. So it sounds ridiculous, but like I'd personally rather buy something that, something like a bakery, which could fulfill a purpose now and maybe tomorrow, rather than like office space, like not for yourself to operate in.
Yeah.
But
it's hard to say with office space, because if it's type of property where you could lease it out to different companies, you could get good yield. But then the argument you make is a lot of people work from home now too.
Yeah,
so
it's I've seen so many people buy office space in CBDs, and it's just been a disaster. They can't lease it out. People don't want to drive to the city anymore. People rather out of suburbs. So I'd say it's an opportunity to look at something you previously wouldn't, that still is as effective.
Definitely. No, I think people should be watching the self-managed super fund commercial space for sure. There's opportunity in it.
If you wanted to do something like this, what would be the first step?
Look, first step would be reaching out to your broker or someone like us. We can assess how much you've got in your super balance, how much you're making super contributions, and get a pretty good indication of what you could buy based on what it's also going to be leased for.
But
map out a plan from there, really.
That wouldn't be pre-approval, right?
It's a little bit different with commercial compared to residential.
Yeah.
Residential, when you go for a pre-approval, generally you know roughly how much rent you're going to get. With commercial, it depends which asset you buy.
Yeah.
Because the rent can vary so much. So you can't really put in a pre-approval, but before you're about to buy a property, we can run numbers based on that property and what it's being leased for before you put the formal offer in.
Would this be a reasonable like step? So broker for if it's viable, accountant to create the trust, back to the broker to start the application, then offer on property but subject to finance. Yeah,
I would say that you'd be pretty safe.
You'd be pretty safe doing all that. So something to check out for sure.
Yep.
Another massive thing that I kind of have realized too, and this is really important for the average day Aussie to know as well. So everyone's seeing these how to pay your mortgage off in 7 to 10 years kind of advertising campaigns, right? And were they scams? No, they weren't scams. There was ways of doing it, but it's not as complicated as everyone was saying, right? How to pay off your home in 7 years, buy an investment property, buy a second investment property, sell them, whack it off your mortgage, right?
Yeah.
There's a crucial thing that's happened now that makes that less viable.
And what is that?
So the assumption with these types of schemes that you're seeing online was that property just keeps going up every year.
Yeah.
So if you're buying an investment property and you're selling in a couple of years, well, there's lots of profit to play with. There's lots of margin. So like with these kind of schemes that were working in the past, really they were just investors. We were doing that to our clients without labeling it, let's pay off your mortgage in 7 years.
Yeah.
It's just, get pre-approved. We actually tried the campaign a few times. I just didn't feel right about it though.
Yeah. Well, we've gone for a purple patch where you're getting 15, 20% growth every year. But that's just not normal.
Yeah. It's not sustainable. So like I think people got to be really careful when they're seeing these types of advertisements out there. Like if it's too good to be true, it is.
Yeah.
There's no like magic like structure or formula that'll just wipe your mortgage. There's like, the mate down the road who's paid his mortgage off quicker. Well, he's only really doing two things. Just putting more money into it.
Yep.
Or buying something and selling it.
Yeah. Buying something, it's gone up, selling it. So how long do you think they would have to hold a property for now? What's realistic? Pay off your mortgage in 15 years? Or
it probably still is. Because the gains are still going to be there, but not as much. So look, the scheme is not as accelerated as it still be. But my advice would be like, Like whenever you see something of like how to pay a mortgage off sooner, it's kind of bullshit.
Yeah.
It's marketed as, oh, you can just do this quick, easy thing. Some people will charge money like $5,000 to set you up on this pathway. And look, maybe paying actually helps because you stick to the plan.
Yeah.
But
these days, you could almost just write into ChatGPT, give me a additional repayment plan to pay off my mortgage quicker.
Yeah, it's the same thing that you're paying someone. So
Yeah.
I think it's like the way we kind of put ourselves out there in the marketplace is, look, just get the best deal.
Yeah.
You know, it's
So you think if someone's just simply paying the lowest rate all the time, that's going to help them pay off their mortgage quicker?
well, like I always say there's like 4 things you can do, right? The first thing is, and yes, it's going to sound like self-promotion, but refinance every couple of years.
Yep.
Why are you doing that? So you always have the best deal. It's pretty simple. If you get a cashback every 2 years, you are always maintaining the lowest interest rate. It eats up the $700-800 of discharge fees, right?
Yep.
Common sense. I think over 30 years, that might even cut off 5 years right there.
Because after the cashback, they'll even make a bit of money from the refinance.
Well, if you go on to our mates at Bank of China and you're getting 2,888,
Yeah.
and it's costing you $800 to refinance, well, $2,000.
Yeah, because it's 2 birds, 1 stone. You save on the interest and you make some money on the cashback.
It's brain dead. Well, not,
A no-brainer. It's a no-brainer.
it's a no-brainer.
It's a no-brainer.
No-brainer. Yeah. So, and the other thing is just pay weekly.
Yeah.
Pay your mortgage weekly, not fortnightly, not monthly. And Rob,
Yeah.
like, why would that help? Why would paying weekly make it better?
Well, weekly is better because they calculate your interest daily. So if you're paying your balance down more frequently, then that interest calculation is going to be lower when they charge you interest.
Exactly. It's just like pay off your debt sooner, so you don't incur more interest on it.
Yeah.
And I think it's like 1 or 2 free repayments a year you get by doing that.
Yeah, okay. Wow.
Yeah. And so there's that. And then the third thing, of course, is just pay a bit extra.
Yeah.
And there's another misconception too of pay a bit extra. You can still put money in an offset account and achieve the same thing.
So why is that though?
So think about it like this, right? If you had $20,000 and your choice was, well, I'm going to just whack it into my mortgage to reduce the loan balance, or whack it into my offset account, it does the same thing.
Yeah.
You know, it's both offsetting interest in the same way. It'll affect what you're paying in the same fashion. And of course, the fourth thing is, if you want to buy an investment property, you can do that, sell it in a couple of years, and whack it off the balance.
Yep.
You know, so like if you got pre-approved through Rob over here, and you bought a investment property with Bank of China, you might have spent $600,000. The loan would be what, $400,000?
Yep.
What do you think that property is going to be worth in 3 or 4 years?
800-900.
800-900, and it's interest. That's because it's interest only. Your loan stays the same. That's $400,000-500,000. Take off capital gains. You're whacking off a couple $100,000 off your owner occupier.
Yep.
And that couple of grand you're whacking off is whacking 7 years off your mortgage, but it's just reducing your loan balance.
Of course. Yeah.
So, bottom line is, those schemes or ways of advertising something very simple, just watch out now.
Yeah. It's not applicable.
Yeah. And while we're on buying property, everyone is going on about this new AMP product, Rob. What's going on there?
It's pretty crazy. You sure you're ready to hear about it, Dom?
My mind is prepared to be blown.
Dude, I would have to say this is 100% the craziest borrowing capacity hack for investors ever. Man, ever, man.
How long have you been a broker now, Rob?
7 years.
Is this the biggest hack?
This is crazy. This is crazy.
Break it down for me. Why is this any different than the classic tricks we have?
All right. So I'll run you through it. So basically, AMP have released an investment product where they're allowing a 40-year loan term.
40, and for those at home, what's the standard is 30 years. It never gets
30 years, correct. So a 40-year term on an interest-only product where you can go up to 6 to 10 years in interest-only term.
Wow.
Now, the reason this is massive is what banks do when they run your borrowing capacity. If you've got interest-only loans, they run your borrowing capacity on the remaining loan term on principal and interest. So as a bit of an example, let's say you've got a loan with CommBank, 30 years, 30-year term with 5 years interest only. They run your borrowing capacity on the remaining 25 years on principal and interest when your interest-only term finishes.
Yep.
Whereas A&P on this 40-year product, your borrowing capacity is going to get run on 30 years principal and interest. So in that scenario, you've got an extra 5 years of principal and interest, which is a lower repayment.
Is it kind of as simple as saying, like, there's another 5 years of borrowing capacity? What's that as a percentage? What, like 16%? So this product will give you 16% more borrowing than any other product.
I would almost argue it could be 20. You know, if you've got your savvy investors who have 3 or 4 investment properties on interest only, and you can bring 30-year terms to 40-year terms of A&P across 1.5, 2 million lending, you'd have to imagine that could give you an extra 100 to 200K in borrowing capacity.
Rob, is this product going to usher in another Royal Commission? Because 40-year loan terms, I could just hear some of the news headlines right now. This guy, you're never paying off your mortgage. You're going to have a mortgage for 40 years. Banks are giving a 40-year mortgage to a 50-year-old.
You know what it is? Right now we're in high interest rate environment. Borrowing capacity is tight at the moment.
Yeah.
Banks need to find ways to loosen up.
Yeah.
And I think this hack, I would say every investor right now should be refinancing to this product, extending their terms back out to 40 years and going interest only of A&P.
Is this an investor though, just to clarify, is this an investor that wants to buy more property, or is this an investor who's got a portfolio and just wants to save money?
This is an investor that wants to keep going. They want to keep buying property.
Yeah.
This is going to extend your borrowing capacity. And whether you go with A&P or not for the next property, the fact that you move all your current loans there and extend out your terms, it gives you more borrowing capacity for your next lender when you
So it doesn't even matter. You could be going to the good guys at Bank of China for that next purchase, but your borrowing capacity has already been optimized through just having this product.
Correct. It's 100% my recommendation right now. All investors that want to keep going, speak to a broker, get someone to move all your loans to A&P, 40-year term with 10 years interest only.
Wow. So if you're someone that's making moves, realistically, the most important thing is always borrowing capacity.
Correct.
Because that is your ceiling.
Yeah,
so
correct.
The argument would be, if you want to make moves, borrowing capacity allows you to buy more property. Buying more property always makes you more money than just having maybe the best deal.
Correct.
So it's a no-brainer. Or
Correct.
What did I say before? It's a brain dead.
It's a brain dead. It's a brain dead. No, it's look, one of the biggest things we see with people that stops them from investing is where they focus on rate or they focus on trying to be with the big bank. You need to focus on structure. And by putting it over 40 years with 10 years interest only, extends borrowing capacity. This is the best structure.
Yeah, there's effectively your kind of two types of guys. There's I want to just have the best mortgage guy.
Yeah.
Then there's I want to make the most money through property guy.
Yeah.
Or girl. So that is the way. That's the clear pathway.
Yeah, and you know which one is putting themselves in a position to make moves, and that's the one that's basically prioritizing borrowing capacity, the right structure, and getting themselves all their ducks in a row for that next property.
It's funny because when you first told me about this product, I said that's got to be bullshit, and honestly, I maintained that frame of mind for a little while. But the more you think about it, all of the banks are losing business left, right, and center with different things. And it comes down to they need to continue to do the same amount of loans, right? That the investors, the shareholders, everything like that, they can't just drop 20, 30%. They need to open up different avenues to maintain their business. Yeah. And if they can't drop, some banks like BOC, they'll drop their pants. Yeah. Lower still, whatever, that's how we're going to maintain our book. A&P have said, no, we're just going to let borrowers borrow more.
Yeah.
And that's kind of that's the summary of it, right?
Yeah, correct. And look, there is even another element to it other than extending borrowing capacity. It could just simply be putting the loan over 40 years, even on principal and interest, could extend the borrowing capacity or make repayments and cash flow more manageable during a high interest rate environment.
But the big question is, if you use this product, will you be on a current affair?
No. Look, A&P are a pretty big bank. They're not a big four, but they're pretty reputable. You know, I know they play in the super space quite a bit. It's if they have created this product, everything's regulated like crazy these days.
A&P are massive.
Yeah, they're massive. all the banks get fines whenever they do the wrong thing.
Yeah.
I would say the fact that they've released this product and it's ready to go means it's already been checked off, and there's not going to be really any risk at all.
That honestly sounds like an insane banking product, and what it can do for borrowing capacity is probably the best thing we've seen in ever.
Yeah, 100%. It's crazy.
And it's only brought on because of the current environment. That's why it's not one of those too good to be true things. It's, hey, there's less loans being written. We need to get some business somewhere. Let's open up this door.
Yeah, and look, that as you sort of mentioned, that's where we're seeing the direction banks need to go in. Okay, we're not getting clients in on rate now. We need to loosen up policy.
Yeah.
So, AMP have come out with this. We've got another pretty crazy lender called Zeus who's entered the scene this year.
Yep.
So the big thing with Zeus, so they're actually built by mortgage brokers as products, is...
Wait, are they a Greek lender or an Australian lender?
Look, they're an Australian lender, but they are named after Zeus, the Greek god.
See, for me, that's a positive.
Yeah. Yeah. Look, if the home loan product's named after a god, must be pretty good.
Yeah, not bad.
But the big thing with these guys is normally when banks run your borrowing capacity, let's say you're getting a 6% interest rate, they will run your borrowing capacity on a 9% rate or 8.5% rate as a bit of a buffer to check that you can pay it in a worst case possible scenario. With Zeus, they're just putting a 1% buffer on one of their products.
Hey, when you're a Greek god, do you need that 3% buffer? No, you don't. 1%.
Crazy.
And having a 1 to 2% lower buffer obviously increases borrowing capacity substantially.
Oh, it's huge. So instead of 6%, that's the rate you get, it'd be 7%. Imagine if you got $1 million in lending, 1.5 million in lending. That can be hundreds of thousands. And that's what we've been seeing upstairs when we're working on these files. We're running borrowing capacity. We're seeing Zeus give $200,000 more than a Westpac or an ANZ.
So, Rob, what if I was to run this by you? Let's say I am Mr. Optimum Home Loaner. I come to you, Rob, I want to refinance my owner-occupied property to Bank of China. I want some cash back.
Yes.
Now, my investment property, I want to refinance that to AMP because I want to open up more borrowing capacity. Next, I want to get pre-approved with Zeus because I've got my eye on the market because there might be opportunity in this crazy marketplace.
Yep.
And I want the most. And while I'm there, I wouldn't mind buying a self-managed super fund property, but let's make it commercial this time.
Yep.
What would you say about that plan?
That's a 10 out of 10. It sounds like that person's listened to this podcast and knows what they're doing.
Was that just like an orgasm for the ears?
Yeah, 100%. But there are some things I would call borrowing capacity blockers that people need to avoid.
All right, let's hear.
This is a bit controversial, but the biggest borrowing capacity blocker ever, novated leases.
Novated leases will block your borrowing capacity like nothing else, right?
Novated leases are poison. They are absolute poison. And look, everyone that has them, they think, I'm saving tax, I'm the best, I'm financially smart because I'm saving tax. You're entering into a debt. You lose, yes, you save tax, but that gets put against you when you run your borrowing capacity.
But Rob, I'd like to save $500 a year in tax instead of buying another property. Or how about we just buy a less expensive car? Let's just buy like a Prius or a RAV4. They're the good ones.
It's crazy. Like I'll look at these pay slips and people were salary sacrificing $1,800 a fortnight for their novated lease.
Wait. $1,800 a fortnight.
Yeah, these are the sort of things we're seeing on people's pay slips. And then you run
driving like a G-Wagon or something.
Then you run the numbers for them, and they can't buy the next property because they don't service, or they can't pull out equity because they've got this big lease. Let's have a look at the numbers. If I go, let's go $1,800 a fortnight.
$1,800 a fortnight, and
it's $46,000 a year.
$46,000 a year.
So it's like, no wonder, and banks will, not exact to the dollar, but banks will borrow you roughly 5 times your income. So what? You're going to be losing about $234,000 of borrowing capacity because of this novated lease. You're paying $46,000 a year.
The funny thing is, your point is extremely valid about losing 234,000 borrowing capacity, but I just can't get past the fact that you're throwing $46,000 a year into car loan repayments. Like, just get a secondhand car.
Yeah.
Just who cares? Do you care what the guy next to you thinks of you? And you're like, you can buy a 2018 car for like a third of the price of a brand new car.
It's just people wanting a new car, but they justify wanting to buy a new car with the tax saving. That's all it is.
It just comes down.
I'm saving tax. I can get the new car. So
and another thing that people are doing, although it did get a little bit hit by the budget, is some share investing. All right. Now, Rob, you've been getting into this, haven't you?
Yeah. So I've been dipping into shares for about 3 years now.
3 years. It's not too bad. Now, look, I got to be honest. I am a bit of a share virgin. Right, so I want you to walk me through this whole process. Like, what do you even do to start this?
Look, I think investing in shares is pretty underrated. To basically, you would set up with a broker. So it might be CommSec. It could be. I use a company called Tiger.
Well, do I walk into a bank, or do I call someone, go on NetBank, or
yes, yeah. So it can all be done online. They will ask you to send ID. So there's maybe like a 1 week process of sending IDs, setting up your accounts.
Yep.
Once you're set up, the best thing to do is to automate everything. That's what I do. So I do something called dollar cost averaging.
Dollar cost averaging, I like that.
So it just means every 2 weeks, I'm going to put in the same amount of money into the same amount of shares or ETFs every fortnight.
Is it the same share you're putting money into though?
Yeah, correct.
So it's completely consistent. Same amount, same frequency, same share.
Yeah, so basically every fortnight my pay comes in. I've set it up automatically in my ANZ banking. So a transfer is made from ANZ to Tiger Trade, which is the app I'm using.
Yep.
Tiger Trade recognizes the next day that it automatically converts that money into US dollars and then puts it into US ETFs.
Oh, so this is the US stock market you're trading on.
Correct.
Are you getting done with fees?
Look, this Tiger Trade's very cheap. Very cheap. That is something you do need to watch out for. There are some apps that will charge you fees per trade. That's why, it might be good to do it like every 3 months if you use those apps.
Yeah.
This Tiger Trade, the fees are super cheap.
And so then you can facilitate dollar cost averaging because it's all about transactions.
Correct.
So what exactly are you investing into?
So I've been investing into the S&P 500.
Yep.
An AI ETF, I believe it's called AIQ off the top of my head.
Okay, and that isn't one AI company, that's a couple of AI companies within a share.
Correct. So sorry, I should have broke it down earlier. So you can invest in shares, which would be individual stocks. So, you can invest in Apple, Westpac, Commonwealth Bank. You can invest in companies, or you can invest in a diversified share. So a diversified share means you invest in this particular share, which then invests in the S&P 500, for example, is a US ETF that invests in the top 200 companies in the US.
So there'd be like the S&P 500 as one diversified share with like a defined what it's going to do. Then there might be other companies that are just picking and choosing different shares to create a diversified portfolio.
Yeah, and look, the idea of these ETFs is, let's say they invest in multiple companies.
Yeah.
Out of all those companies, maybe 70% are performing well and shares are going up. Maybe 30% are underperforming. Because the majority are always performing, that goes up and you're making money on it.
Yeah. And what would be the biggest tip you could give someone who wants to get into shares for the first time?
Honestly, just not to overthink it.
Yeah.
I think right now is a really good opportunity because the property market is maybe going for a little bit of stagnation temporarily. It's a good time to give shares a go. And look, you can get, I've been seeing 10%, maybe even sometimes 12% returns in these ETFs.
Is that per year?
Annually.
That's pretty damn solid.
Yeah.
Realistically, and this is what always does my head in as someone who understands numbers.
Yeah.
I like to offset my home loan.
Yeah.
And I save 6% or whatever on that. So you're telling me I can get 11%, 12%.
Correct.
Doing that. So you don't want to say it because you want to reduce your mortgage or not pay a mortgage, but why don't I just put all my offset into dollar cost averaging into shares and make 10% on average?
Look, the only negative side of shares is, especially with the changes that have come in recently, the May federal budget, is you do pay capital gains tax when you sell off your shares in ETFs.
I forgot about that one.
Yeah. So there is a bit of a sticky side to it, but if you're putting money into the same ETF or share for, it's a long-term thing, 15, 20 years, maybe over 15 to 20 years, you've put in 100K, I'm just going to say, or maybe more. Let's say 150. 150K at 10%. Let's assume 10% every year.
15 grand.
Is it? Yeah? Yeah, 15 grand.
Hey,
there you go.
I'm a finance guy. What can I say?
You're a calculator. Yeah, look, so 15 grand for just putting money in. Obviously, that scales, though, based on how much you have in your balance. Yeah. Because if you're putting in 300,000, then that's 30K. But then the big thing is compounding interest, is you're actually making money on the compounding interest of the shares.
Exactly, because you've made money. Yeah, it just keeps, just like the big haystack in the desert, just keeps getting bigger and bigger.
Yeah, correct. So I could actually argue the point that the calculation I made isn't correct, because it's not 10% on 150,000. 150,000 is how much you put in.
Yeah, it's not factoring in the compounding
correct,
side of it. Yeah.
Correct.
Well, it's funny, like you're talking about shares, which although have been hit by the budget, they're still viable. Property is pretty viable as well.
Yeah.
There is a new investment class that people are getting into, and I'm not sure if you've heard the story that happened recently with Logan Paul selling a Pokémon card of all things.
Oh, no, I haven't heard the story.
Yeah. So for those of you who don't know Logan Paul, he's a wrestler now, but he's mostly like a YouTuber, and he's gotten pretty famous just from doing like crazy, outrageous stuff.
Yep.
A lot of people don't like him too, and there's good reason. But recently he sold a Pokemon card for $16 million US.
Wow.
16 million. And this has had a pretty big ripple effect throughout the market as well.
It's crazy. Is this the next thing to invest in, or what?
Well, like you think of 16 million US dollars, which is what, 23 million Australian dollars for a piece of cardboard.
It's crazy.
And you think, why is that worth that much money? But like, there's a massive story behind this card and how it got to be worth that, and it's pretty damn interesting.
Why would anyone pay that much? What's the story?
So pretty much it's been labeled as the rarest Pokemon card. I think it was made in like 1998, whatever. Now, this particular Pokemon card, there was no PSA 10s of the card. So for those of you who don't know what grading is, it's when you have a trading card or really any kind of nostalgia asset, you take it to a company and they will grade it 1 to 10.
Okay.
1 being the worst, 10 being the best.
Yep.
And for something to be 10, it's supposed to be pretty flawless, right?
Sure.
So what happened with this card was there was a guy in Australia, of all places, who had this card, and it's called a Pikachu Illustrator. Pikachu Illustrator, right? And this guy was trying to get a PSA 10, and PSA are the #1 grading company. So he was able to get it, but the way he got it was pretty looked down upon.
What did he do?
So what he did was he put this card for submission to the grading company.
Yep.
Something like 30 times.
Jesus. Far out.
So what would happen every time is it would come back, or PSA 8. Then what he does, he would crack open the plastic. But all right, let's give it another try. Again, PSA 9, crack it open again. PSA 7, crack it open again. He did this definitely over 10 times, but they say 30 times.
Yeah, okay. Wow.
And the thing you would think of, if it wasn't a 10 from the start, then how did he get a 10?
Yeah.
So what actually happened with how he was able to get this 10 was he put this card in, but he tried a different angle. So he slipped it through an avenue where it's a lower value card, even though it's not. And so the grader who was assessing the card on the day didn't really think too much about it. Because when you're doing lower value cards, which are at the time was $2, $5, $10 to do, you just, this one, 10. Yeah, this one 9. This one 10.
Okay. He found a loophole.
He found a loophole, and this card came back a 10 from a bulk submission, right? Which means someone made a mistake.
Yeah, okay.
I don't know have you seen this card before?
Nah. Have you?
Yeah, I've looked at photos of it, and this card is not in good condition.
So you're saying it's not a 10 at all? It's a...
Well, that's where it gets controversial, Rob, because the card is a PSA 10. It's labeled a 10, which is in theory perfect. However, if you inspect the card, or even if you cracked it open, it's probably a PSA 8.
Oh, wow.
And do you know what the difference between a PSA 8 and a 10 is?
Yeah. I don't know much about it. I would imagine the little bends in the card and the quality of the picture.
Yeah, a little bit. Price-wise, the PSA 10 that Logan Paul was able to get, he sold for 16 million USD.
Ooh.
Because it's a one-of-one card in a 10.
Yeah, okay. And what's a PSA 8? $100 or something?
No, it's not 100, but it might be something like $50,000.
Oh, so still, wow.
Yeah,
still a fair bit.
And so like the story with that Australian guy who got the 10, he then sold it for like pennies on. He might have sold it for $20,000 at the time to a company in Dubai.
Yeah.
Which seemed incredible, right? And then Logan Paul buys it off him for something like, I think it was $4 or $5 million.
Wow.
And then unleashes the hype train over 4 years. Oh, it's the best thing in the world. It's the best card. And then eventually puts it to auction and someone buys it for 16 million.
Yeah. Wow. Because didn't he... I remember hearing something about him wearing it in the WWE, or was that a different card?
Well, he did everything. Yeah, he put it around his neck, made like a case for it. He did everything to hype this card up.
Yeah.
And then he was able to make something like $11 million profit in 4 or 5 years.
Wow.
Just by hyping up this card.
So do you think there's an avenue for investing in Pokemon cards or trading cards?
But believe it or not, collectibles is the category, right? And people invest in collectibles all the time, and it goes back to like pieces of art or even watches.
Yeah.
And like even in the past, like basketball cards have really picked up. Pokemon cards and trading cards as a collectible, it's here to stay, in my opinion.
Yeah. Okay. Wow. I used to play with Pokemon cards when I was a kid, and just never thought of actually holding on to those cards. And
well, the thing is, we all did as a kid. But when we look at those cards, they're going to be damaged or they're not going to be in perfect shape.
Because you're using them.
You're using them and having fun, right? That's what they were for.
Yeah.
But for those smart kids who didn't touch them and they were perfect, they put them in a little sleeve, you could then get them graded and make money on them.
Wow.
And what people are doing, and I'm not talking about just like young people or anything, big investment is coming in and they're acquiring Pokemon cards, sealed product, like, the boxes.
Yeah.
And serious people are putting serious money into this as a new form of investment class. And ultimately, when you look at the comparison of returns, it's something crazy like 3,000% from 1999.
Wow.
No asset class on the planet has, like, if you, the staple of Pokemon cards is the original Charizard. If anyone's, do you remember the original Charizard?
Yeah.
That card there in a PSA 10 was worth something like $2,000 or $3,000 a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
It's now worth about $1 million.
That's crazy. Yeah. Because I was getting a haircut a few months ago, and even remember my hairdresser telling me that he's collecting them or was buying boxes.
Yeah. It's a legitimate thing people are doing. Is it a hype train? Who knows?
If you can make a return on anything, that's going to be more than 10%. It's worth it, really.
Yeah. And a lot of people are getting started, and what they're doing is they're buying some of the older cards that are already graded, so they're protected. And some of these cards, there's only 200-300 of them in the world.
Yeah.
So the argument is, well, I've got a card that people love based on nostalgia, and there's not many of them. And if I spend $2,000-$3,000 on this card, well, the history and the data suggest that card's going to go up by 20-25% a year.
So would you recommend to people watching this video to invest in trading cards? Or what would you say?
I honestly think, and this is going to be a bit of a controversial statement, I believe someone's net worth of 2 to 5% is reasonable to put into collectibles.
Wow.
Now, when I say collectibles, it's not just cards. It could be things like art or watches or things like that. I think there's a good argument to diversify. And a lot of people putting money into Bitcoin, no one was batting an eye, were they?
Yeah.
That Bitcoin has halved in value.
Yeah.
All of that money, believe it or not, is now going into trading cards.
Yeah.
So that's boosting it up. But I would say if you're someone that had a net worth of $1 million, and you made the conscious decision to put $50,000 into Pokemon cards, graded or sealed product, why not? The data suggests it's a good move.
Diversification's the best way with investing.
Well, the category of collectibles has the chance for substantial gains, but it's a roller coaster. You could lose money that you're prepared to take a bit of a hit on.
Yeah.
is okay.
Yes.
Your emergency fund, the money for your kids' schools, that's when it gets stupid.
Yes, I'd be stupid if I put all my savings in.
Absolutely. You do 5%, no problem. Be smart about it. Do your research. But yeah, it's here to stay, it seems.
So investing in it, but just understanding the risks.
Yeah, exactly. And Robert, just hit me. This is our first podcast since the World Cup. What'd you think of it?
You know what? I really enjoyed it. The more games to watch.
Yeah.
It was just...
It was a pretty entertaining World Cup.
It's pretty hyped when it's in America. America do stuff good, especially when it comes to sport.
And even the players that were in it, so many of those players are retiring. Like Messi, Ronaldo, Modric.
Yeah.
Neymar.
Neymar.
Neymar even.
Yeah, it was, surely he's not in for the next one. I don't know.
No, him definitely not.
Yeah.
Messi, Ronaldo, I don't know. You can't put it past those guys.
They're just... Ronaldo's a robot.
Yeah,
he's a robot, that guy.
He's my goat, Rob.
Yeah.
He's my goat. What did you think was what was your highlight of the World Cup?
Look, it's going to be biased as an Aussie, but probably the first game watching Australia versus Turkey.
No one thought we would win that game against Turkey.
We were on fire. We looked so good, and I just thought maybe we were going to carry more momentum.
Did we look that good though, or did Turkey just not finish their lunch?
I think we just played them well. We played a defensive lineup that just got them on the break, and we just played to our strengths pretty much.
But then what happened after Turkey, Rob?
We lost to the US.
Yeah.
We drew to Paraguay.
In the most boring game I've ever seen in my life, but it was good boring. We won. I was clapping at the end for the 0-0.
And then we lost to Egypt.
The Egypt
which
game, man.
Was disappointing. Probably the only positive I would say for Australia. It's good to get out of the group stage, but it put a lot of our players on the map now.
Yeah. And who would you say was the MVP? Would you go Messi?
Yeah. Look, he was amazing.
What were his numbers? I think. Nico, how many goals did Messi get?
Messi got 8 goals and 4 assists.
That's.
What's he? 39 years old.
I think he's 38.
He's 39. Yeah,
39.
Yeah. He got 39 actually on the US on the World Cup.
Yeah.
During the World Cup.
I don't think he won the MVP as well. They gave it to Rodri for Spain, which I guess you give it to the winner.
But with 0 goals.
0 goals? I've got a bit of a hot take here.
Robbed Nico.
We've been robbed.
Nico is an Argentinian, so that's been fun throughout the World Cup. He had most of the laughs except for the last game.
Yeah, that was tough, but well deserved for Spain though. Yeah,
I've got a bit of a hot take about what went on with Ronaldo and Messi and how that went. So Messi's numbers are undeniably incredible, right? And everyone will point at Ronaldo was underperforming. That's the general gist, right? Ronaldo got 3 goals, 2 goals, maybe. I think it was 3.
Yep.
But Argentina played for Messi.
Yeah.
Their whole team was built around, we have a guy who's just a magician. We're going to do the running. We're going to do the physicality for him. We don't care if he runs or not. Everything we do is going to be to facilitate this genius.
Yeah.
And Messi, obviously, made the most of that. But can you win the World Cup with that philosophy?
Oh, it's a hard one because you need to play as a team. But when you've got the best player in the world in your team, you have to really play to the best player in the world.
Well, yeah, but then you can look at Portugal in an alternative universe who everyone will say that underperformed. Portugal did not play for Ronaldo.
Yeah.
They had too many, like Bruno Fernandes wanted to do it himself.
Yeah.
No one, there was no game plan of, all right, we've got the best finisher in world football.
Yeah.
He can head the ball. There were no crosses.
Yeah.
It didn't click. But this is where my hot take comes. They both lost to Spain.
Yep.
They both lost to Spain.
Yep.
One team played for their genius. The other team didn't.
Yeah.
And did the same.
You could argue that Spain hasn't got the best player in the world, but they've just got consistent, very good players in their team, and they play as a team.
I got to be honest, I hated watching Spain, but I thought they were boring. They are the best, they deserve winners, but they're boring.
Class but boring football, pretty much.
Yeah. What do you think about England?
England are just flops. They do it in every competition. They've always got one of the best teams with the potential to win, and they never win it.
Well, it's the best. Get this. This is what the English are saying. This is our best finish ever that's not on English soil. Because they won in 66 in England, and they finished fourth before, but they didn't finish fourth this time. They finished third because they actually beat France in the third versus fourth game.
64. That's a long time ago since they've won it.
66.
Oh, 66, sorry.
Yeah.
Wow.
Do you reckon, what do you think of that? Do you think, yes, the English should hold their heads proud for that, or do you think, man, they're still underperforming?
They should be super disappointed. You'd think they're almost cursed at this point because they consistently have good teams and good players. They just can't get to the final and win it.
And are you Thomas Tuchel in or out, which is their coach?
Out. Out. I would say with that team, to not make it to the final is a disappointment.
That game against Argentina where they just absolutely locked it up at like the 60th minute mark, threw on defenders.
They were up 1-0, weren't they? And then Argentina
1-0.
just banged a few quick ones in.
And Nico will like this. That 25-minute stretch with Argentina might have been the best World Cup mini performance I've ever seen.
It was magic.
It was magic.
It was magic.
For anyone that hasn't watched that game, Messi's crosses were unbelievable. Yeah. The other big takeaway from the World Cup for me, I guess, was the corruption. Right? And there's probably two big talking points. Like, do you remember that USA? I think it was Balogun that got red carded.
Yeah, and then it got reversed, or what happened there?
It got reversed. So when you get red carded, you miss the next game.
Yeah,
but there is one way you can avoid that
by
being friends with. Oh wait, our podcast might get banned for saying. Let's just say Donald.
Yeah,
because every time we say that name, our podcast just doesn't make it on the internet.
Yeah.
So if you're best mates with Donald, you can play the next game.
Yeah.
And the other big thing that happened was the FIFA were trying to sell off 20% of their company to investors to build the brand, and UEFA just said no, we're not with this. We're boycotting you in every way possible if you go through with this.
Crazy. Just almost goes to show, it's all about the money. Hey,
and if it's all, I've got some numbers for you, Rob. You're going to like some of these.
Okay.
So, what the last thing you just said there was it's all about the money. Now, if you thought going to the World Cup was expensive, here's some of these numbers. Now, granted, there was 32 teams in Qatar in 2022. There's now 48. There were 64 matches. There's now 104, which is more.
Okay.
Now, the expected tickets sold went from 3.4 million to 6.5 million, which is a lot. But listen to FIFA's revenue. They went from about 7 billion in revenue to about 16 billion in revenue.
Whoa.
In one World Cup in 4 years. Rob,
wow.
What is inflation? What's inflation in 4 years, Rob? It's not triple.
Definitely not.
It's crazy. And if you're thinking, oh sure, it's more expensive because there's more teams, you'd be kind of right. But that might factor in some of it, but not all of it.
Yeah.
And if you actually wanted to go to a World Cup game, pay the price, right?
How much is the ticket? Run me through it.
Oh, this is where it gets really spicy, right? In 2022, you could pay $70 for a group game, which is reasonable.
Yep.
That now went up to about $120.
Wow.
Right? If you wanted to go to a big group game, like two of the better teams playing, it was about maybe $250. That now can go up to $1,200.
Wow.
And if you're lucky enough to go to a quarterfinal, you could have done it for about $400 in 2022. You're now looking at about $1,500, and it gets even more
criminal.
Fun. Gets even more fun. Semi-final, $850 it was in 2022. Well, that can go up to $3,300. And the cherry on top, if you wanted to go to the World Cup final, you could have achieved that in Qatar for about $1,600. You can now, if you wanted to do it for the World Cup, that just went by $6,300 it can get up to.
Far out. That's crazy. 6,000 and the stadium's absolutely packed.
And Rob, that is one game. That is not your flights. That is not your hotels, which, by the way, are all double what they were.
Yeah.
That's not your spending money. There are people that sold their homes to attend one World Cup game.
So I shouldn't be planning any World Cup trips in the next 10 years, should I?
Rob, you might as well get a novated lease, man.
Yeah. It's just as smart as a novated lease. It's another scam, eh?
I'd call the World Cup, one of the biggest scams. Definitely one of the biggest scams of the year.
The only way it's worth it is if it comes here.
Well,
Bring it to Australia.
bring it to Australia.
Make the tickets cheaper for Aussies.
That's it. Yeah. Speaking of scams, Rob, there's something that I had to fit into this podcast, right?
Yeah.
This to me is one of the craziest stories of the world, and it gets even crazier after I tell the story with a theory that I have. And not everyone's going to be on board with this theory, but this is one of my crazy theories, all right?
All right. What's the story?
So this is the story of diamonds and the company De Beers, right? And I'm gonna try and get through the timeline a little bit quick, but it's really, really interesting.
De Beers.
Who's
De Beers?
So De Beers are the company that Cecil Rhodes started De Beers Diamonds in 1988. In 1888.
Oh, wow.
This is about 20 years after diamonds were invented, right? De Beers built a monopoly with diamonds. That company was one of the only companies that kind of had access to diamond supply. Now, this guy didn't have a wife, didn't have kids. So he was bought out by Ernest Oppenheimer, who took control in 1929, right?
Okay.
So selling diamonds took a bit of a hit with the war. So after the war, they thought, how can we get people to buy diamonds?
Yeah.
Right? So they came up with one of the craziest marketing campaigns of all time. A diamond is forever. In 1950s, they hired the best marketing agency in the world and were able to market diamonds where every engagement ring should have a diamond. A diamond symbolizes eternal love, and diamonds should never be sold, right? Now, we both bought diamond rings recently.
Sure did.
How did you feel about that, Rob?
Look, you got to look after your partner, your fiance, your wife, but it is a big dent in the wallet. It's a big dent in the savings account.
Well, initially, the marketing campaign was 1 month's salary. Then it was 2 months' salary. And then they pushed it to 3 months' salary. So, and don't worry, this story gets even crazier, all right? Now, in 1969, the De Beers Group, they were mining their diamonds in Botswana.
Is that in Africa or where's Botswana?
It's a country in Africa, and this is where most of the diamonds were. So what they did was they wanted exclusive access to these mines, so they cut in the Botswana government 50% into the business.
Wow.
So the Oppenheimers ran De Beers, 50% them, 50% with Botswana. And what they did, they put a stranglehold on diamond supply in the entire world. You wanted a diamond, you have to go to De Beers.
Yeah, okay.
Right? And so pretty much that worked for them. And, throughout all of the 70s, 80s, 90s, everyone was buying diamonds until the 2010s when something has come into fashion, which is the lab-grown diamonds. So when you were buying your diamond, I looked into this too.
Yeah.
For about 20% of the cost, you could buy a lab diamond.
Yeah.
Now, unfortunately, my missus didn't want to go down that road, so I had to buy the real thing. And that purchase still kills me today because diamonds are the worst performing asset on the planet. And I believe you did the same.
Yeah, bought a real diamond, but the lab grown was tempting because much, much cheaper.
Because you're buying rubbish, and if you're going to buy rubbish, well, you might as well buy cheaper rubbish, right? So the story gets even crazier, right? So 2011, the Oppenheimers running De Beers saw this coming, so they sold their stake for $5 billion.
Wow.
So they got in at the perfect time, strangled the market, got in with the government of Botswana, and then sold at the optimum time. So that sounds like a crazy story, right? But I've got a theory on this whole thing. What I've just told you is complete fact. That is what happened.
Okay.
What I'm going to tell you is I believe the De Beers company were not looking for diamonds the whole time.
What do you reckon they were doing?
So have you ever heard of a red or a blue or a pink diamond?
Well, I know what it would be, but I haven't really heard much about it.
You know what it is. So we can agree diamonds are rubbish. They're worthless.
Yeah.
Right? And there's an infinite amount in the world. They're not short on supply.
Okay.
Now, there are diamonds that actually are worth something and they have a short supply.
Okay.
These are red diamonds.
Oh, okay. So the diamonds are literally coloured. You find them coloured.
You find them coloured and they're legitimately something that's worth something, right?
Yeah.
So there's red, blue, there's all different colours, but typically red and blue.
Yep.
Now, Rob, a normal diamond, let's say 1 carat is worth $10,000. Okay. What do you think a red diamond would be worth?
20,000?
Try $5 million.
Wow.
It is my theory that from the start, the De Beers company were not looking for normal diamonds. The whole time, they were looking for red, blue diamonds. Diamonds that were worth something.
And just pocketing it for themselves, maybe.
Exactly. They were doing this, and then whilst they were looking for this, they realised there's a shitload of other diamonds. We need a way to get rid of this rubbish and make some money, to make our money back on mining so we can find the true treasure. So what did they do? So they facilitated the world's greatest marketing campaign, Diamonds Are Forever, to get rid of all of their rubbish normal diamonds to facilitate their mining of the true treasure diamonds.
It's crazy. Is there any validity to your theory, or where's your theory come from?
My theory is based on common sense, Rob.
So based on yourself, just thinking.
Yes, it's based on what I think. I know that there's red and blue diamonds that are actually legitimately worth so much. I know that they were finding them. I can't prove that they knew diamonds were rubbish. But this is what I think. And nothing you say, Rob, will change my mind about this.
It's a good theory. It makes sense. When they're looking for your normal diamonds, they find the rarer diamonds, keep those for themselves.
Keep them for themselves.
The theory makes sense.
And what are you going to do?
And
with
no
all
one
the
has to
illegal
know
diamonds?
either.
Yeah, no one's going to know. In Botswana, there's a bunch of guys hunting. Who's looking down there in the 40s or the 50s?
There you go.
Yeah. So that's what I think is one of the world's biggest scams ever. Right? And that's how we're going to end this podcast. But what is not a scam is Bank of China.
It's the leading deal on the market at the moment, and people just need to change their mindset.
The mindset has to change. The dollars and the numbers suggest this deal is unrivaled. And Rob, if anyone wants to look into, there's a lot today. If anyone wants to look into getting the best deal with Bank of China, getting the best borrowing capacity with the new AMP product, getting the best borrowing capacity for a purchase with the Zeus product, or even buying a commercial property within their super, what can they do?
Give us a call, inquire on our website, send us an email.
All right, Rob, and for all of this advice, how much do you charge people?
Nothing.
We do not charge our clients at all. $0. We refuse to charge our clients for our help. We get paid by the banks, as every mortgage broker does. Do you feel the need to charge clients?
No. Look, we're still getting paid, and we're providing a service, and they get that service for free.
That's it, and I think that's fair. We get paid, so why should we charge more?
Correct.
Yeah. So that's it, guys. If you want to get in touch with Rob or any of the brokers here at Refinancer for any of this information, and now more than ever with tough times, cost of living, changes galore, this could be the perfect time to get on top of everything and save some money. I'm Dom Trimboli. This is Rob D'Agostino.
Thanks for watching.
We'll catch you next time on The Rate Drop.
See you guys.